Hey guys, it is me, Jacqueline. For today's video, I have a spoiler-free review for Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. This book actually comes out today, August 30th, and it is a YA contemporary book. This was actually one of my most anticipated book releases. I picked up this arc at BA/BookCon. If you don't know, this is a book about a girl who self-harms. And self-harm is very personal to me. I actually self-harmed for 2 years. It's still something that, even though it is in my past, sometimes it brought up in my present just because it will always be a part of me. And so I was anticipating this book because I was hoping that this would be a contemporary book that sort of debunked any cliches about self-harm. Sadly, there are so many different things that go around about self-harm, and it agitates me to no end because it's very personal to me. Self-harm is not like a cookie cutter thing, and I think one of my favorite things that actually she did in this novel is showed different examples of people who are dealing with self-harm and how they deal with it, or what types of self-harm they do. It's very important to acknowledge that, and I really appreciated overall how this author actually acknowledged self-harm. Nonetheless, I did have minor flaws with this book. Like I said, this is her debut novel, and I was anticipating this book so much that I think I had it at such a high expectation, and it sort of fell flat for me. But overall, this is such an amazing book, an amazing debut novel. I would definitely recommend it if a more serious contemporary book is up your alley. Overall, even though I did have those minor flaws, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. And let me stop rambling and let's get on to the pros and cons for this book. Like I said, my favorite thing about this book is how the author handled the self-harm factor as well as the other mental illnesses that are featured in this novel. She didn't make it so dramatic or anything like that. It felt very real and raw. The next point I have to make is the writing. It's definitely not a huge pro for me, but it's not a con. And the style of writing itself I found was very unique and beautiful, and I think it really suited this story because it's more of a diary-based style of writing. The minor flaw I did have with it is when you're first trying to read this book, I found it was sort of hard to get into because I was not used to this style of writing. I gave this about 10 pages and then I started to really progress into the novel. Overall, the writing definitely works with this book and it's absolutely beautiful. The next point I have to make is the characters. I'm really indifferent towards these characters, specifically with our main character. I really appreciated overall how all these characters had their different attributes, but when it came down to the entire story, I do have to say there were parts where I felt for these characters and then other parts where I just didn't really feel for them at all. I felt there was a little bit of a disconnect with them. I don't know if that was just my reading experience or anything like that, but yet again, I just don't know how I really feel about these characters. The next thing I have to talk about is the romance factor. There is romance involved, but don't get it twisted. It's not like she meets a boy, she ends up getting better, happily ever after. That's not how this goes. I don't want to say how it goes, but that's not how it goes, and that I really appreciated. I don't really like it in stories that feature maybe mental illnesses or anything that's more of a serious topic with our main character and they meet their love interest and then automatically everything is wonderful and beautiful, you know what I mean? Even though there was a romance, still we saw our character sort of struggling with who she was, and there was a discomfort factor I felt at certain times with this romance. That was just personally me, and I felt that it was more real that way. I think the romance was a good way to go because it helped the self-discovery aspect go forward, and that is another point I have to make. The self-discovery aspect I think is a great sort of point. I definitely have to say it as a pro for me. I really enjoyed the whole entire involvement we have with our main character as she moves forward in this story and how she sort of deals with everything that she has to deal with. And I think from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, you really see her character development. So that is my non-spoilery book review for Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. I'm going to leave the Goodreads link to this book down below in the description box if you want to know more information on it. I would definitely recommend to pick it up. It is a beautiful debut novel, and if you actually have read this book, let me know down below in the comment section what you thought of it, or let me know in the comments what you thought of my review, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!